What's the biggest language mistake you've ever made, one that still makes you cringe to this day?
For me, it was using the phrase, "my wife is pregnant," when I meant to say, "my sister is pregnant." The look on my brother-in-law's face was priceless.
That's hilarious, but also a bit embarrassing. Have you ever thought about what you learned from that mistake and how it has helped you improve your language skills?
Actually, that mistake taught me to always double-check my words before speaking, especially when it comes to sensitive topics. It's crucial to make amends when you've made a mistake like that.
That's a great point, and it's something we'll be exploring in today's conversation. We'll be looking at how to learn from mistakes, and I think most learners get the concept of making amends completely wrong.
Yes, and we'll also be discussing how to pick up the pieces and get back on track after a mistake, which is just as important as making amends.
So, what can our viewers expect to learn from today's conversation? Will they be able to own up to their mistakes and turn over a new leaf?
Absolutely, we'll be covering 3 key phrases that will help them do just that, and here's the weird part: most learners use these phrases in completely the wrong context.
That's really interesting. Can you give us an example of one of these phrases, like learn from mistakes, and how it's often misused?
Well, a common mistake is to use the phrase "learn from mistakes" without actually taking the time to reflect on what went wrong. It's just a phrase, not a magic solution.
So, how can our viewers actually learn from their mistakes and see the silver lining in a difficult situation?
It's all about taking the time to reflect on what went wrong and using that knowledge to improve. For example, if you made a mistake in a job interview, you could use that experience to prepare for the next one.
That makes sense, and it's a great way to turn a negative experience into a positive one. But what about when you're not sure how to make things right? How do you make amends in a situation like that?
That's a tough one, but it's often just a matter of being honest and apologizing sincerely. It's not always easy, but it's an important part of learning from mistakes.
Here's the weird part: most learners think that making amends is just about saying sorry, but it's actually about taking action to fix the problem. Can you give us an example of that?
Yes, for example, if you accidentally damaged someone's property, just saying sorry isn't enough. You need to offer to fix or replace the damaged item.
That's a great point, and it's something that can be applied to many different situations. What about when you're trying to get back on track after a mistake? How do you pick up the pieces?
It's all about focusing on the present moment and taking things one step at a time. Don't get too caught up in worrying about the past or future.
That's really helpful advice, and it's something that can be applied to many different areas of life. But what about when you're trying to own up to a mistake? How do you do that in a way that's respectful to others?
It's all about being honest and taking responsibility for your actions. Use phrases like "I was wrong" or "I made a mistake" to show that you're taking ownership of the situation.
Here's the weird part: most learners think that owning up to a mistake is a sign of weakness, but it's actually a sign of strength. Can you explain why that is?
Yes, when you own up to a mistake, you're showing that you're brave enough to admit when you're wrong, and that you're willing to learn from your mistakes.
That's a great point, and it's something that can help you turn over a new leaf and start fresh. But what about when you're trying to see the silver lining in a difficult situation? How do you do that?
It's all about looking for the positive aspects of the situation and using those to your advantage. For example, if you lost your job, you could use that as an opportunity to start your own business.
That's a great way to look at it, and it's something that can be applied to many different situations. But what about when you're trying to learn from your mistakes? How do you do that in a way that's effective?
It's all about reflecting on what went wrong and using that knowledge to improve. Don't be afraid to try new things and take risks.
Here's the weird part: most learners think that learning from mistakes is just about avoiding the same mistake in the future, but it's actually about using those mistakes as an opportunity to grow. Can you give us an example of that?
Yes, for example, if you failed a test, you could use that experience to learn what you need to work on and to develop a plan to improve your skills.
That's a great point, and it's something that can be applied to many different areas of life. But what about when you're trying to get back on track after a mistake? How do you do that in a way that's sustainable?
It's all about setting realistic goals and taking things one step at a time. Don't try to do too much too soon, or you'll end up burning out.
That's really helpful advice, And it's something that can be applied to many different situations. Let me summarize what we've learned so far, and then we'll give our viewers a challenge to try out.
Sounds good to me. Go ahead and summarize the key points, and then we'll ask our viewers to use one of the phrases in the comments.
Okay, so we've learned that making amends is about taking action to fix the problem, not just saying sorry. We've also learned that owning up to a mistake is a sign of strength, not weakness, and that learning from mistakes is about using those mistakes as an opportunity to grow.
That's right, and we've also learned that getting back on track after a mistake is about focusing on the present moment and taking things one step at a time. Now, it's time for today's challenge.
Today's challenge is to use one of the phrases we've learned in the comments below. Try to use the phrase "learn from mistakes" in a sentence, and see how you can apply it to your own life.
If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe for daily English practice. We'll be back tomorrow with a new topic and a new challenge.
And tomorrow, we'll be talking about the importance of taking risks and trying new things. Don't miss it. It's going to be a great conversation.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and comment below.